Good evening and welcome to Hip Hop Tonight. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different. We're listening to my man Markee Steele, coming out of Durham, North Carolina. He's one of the dopest young up-and-coming artists. Very creative with his approach. And every video that he's put out has always had a creative spin on it that you don't see in a lot of music. This isn't your typical Durham rapper, so we just wanted to give a few minutes of appreciation to his album. We're gonna break down our first 10-star review on Hip Hop Tonight. Now this first track is Too Deep. If you haven't heard the album yet, please go check it out first. We're gonna do a quick discussion and break down some of these songs. Now, there's 10 different things that can go into qualifying an album to be a perfect album, right? You got the lyrics, the flow, the beats, the mix, the rollout, the overall cohesion of the album, the depth to the lyrics, along with the replay value, the longevity, the potential longevity of it. And because this is Hip Hop Tonight, we got lyrics again. So lyrics count for 2 points right off the bat. If you break down some of the lyrics on this track and just in some of the songs in general on this album, we're gonna give him 2 stars just based off lyrics alone. He's kind of talking about his own personal life, but you can take a lot from what he's saying and apply it to your own life as well. Now, when we talk about the flow on the album, we're talking about not only what he's saying, but the way he's saying it. You know, we have to look at the execution of the lyrics, right? Now, Markee Steele does a great job of always delivering his lyrics punctually, and he actually hits a lot of different flows on this album, kind of drawing inspiration from different places, and some throwbacks to some old school lyrics that kind of bring the album to feel a lot more cohesive in that sense. We got production from a few different people on this album. Time Hills. Number 1, we got Mr. Music. We got Willie B. We got Trust One. We got Air Pat. Shout out Air Pat. And we also have a producer named Riot, who's on the majority of the beats. Every beat on here knocks. The mixing of it is fantastic. There's not one song on here that stands out as a particular single, but they could all kind of carry their own weight individually. And when you bring them all together, I think he does a great job of making it all very cohesive in that sense. Now, if you're talking about the mix of the album, we got to shout out whoever the engineer is. The way that these songs kind of flow into each other takes a lot of forethought and planning. You know, it's not just a matter of putting a compilation of songs together, but he made sure that this album flows together in a way that one song just goes smoothly into the next, a smooth transition. So it deserves some kind of recognition for putting that sort of forethought into placing these songs together and the way that it's just mixed together and flows together. So right now, we're sitting at 5 stars right now. There's nothing I could really criticize about it so far. Now, when we're thinking about the rollout, cohesion, depth, replay value, and the potential longevity for the next 5 stars. So let's look at the rollout of the album. Markee Steele did something really interesting with this album in that he put out a 3-pack of singles all at the same time, all one video with 3 separate videos within that one, which is something that I personally hadn't seen before, but I don't think that I've seen anybody put out a 3-piece single, you know what I mean? Very creative way to roll the album out. The songs on that 3-piece actually aren't even on the album. So it's almost like a little collection of songs to anticipate what you're gonna get on the full album. I think he did a good job of building up anticipation and buzz based around that. In addition to rolling out the album, he did a music video that dropped at the exact same time as the album, which happens to be what I would call the lead single from the album. It's called All Wounds. So Time Heals is the name of the album. The single released is All Wounds. Time Heals All Wounds. It all flows together to kind of create and paint a picture of what to expect from the album. So kudos to Markee Steeles on putting together a very smooth rollout with excellent lyrics, flow, beats, production, and engineering for sure. You know, and that leads to the cohesion of the album. You know, in my mind, I think of Cohesion would be an album that all has a similar feel to it. There's not coming from far left on one song, coming from the other side on another song. I think he did a fantastic job of making this all feel like one project. You know, I discussed with him earlier today about the process of making an album one collection of art. You know, it's almost if a painter had a gallery and all of the pictures in that gallery should convey not necessarily the same feeling, but they should all lead into each other and convey an overall feeling. And with his album, Time Heals, I think he addressed the idea of time and healing from trauma in a very interesting way. He did his sequencing of the album kind of starting at a peak of frustration and anger and building up into an understanding and appreciation of yourself, you know, and that deserves, that definitely deserves some kudos for sure. That's another star. We got 7 stars right now, 7 out of 10. So let's keep on going. You know, let's look at the depth of the album. You know, is this a perfect album? I don't know. But in terms of stars, man, he's hitting all marks. So if we were to go into the depth, you know, how surface level are these songs? You know, these aren't just songs about shaking your ass at the club. It's not just a bunch of songs about shooing your ops and your enemies. You know, he's covering a range of subjects while making sure that each of the songs is catchy and has its own unique standout appeal to it. So each of these songs could stand on their own, but they can also hold together to a degree in sort of a concept, you know. I think that the depth would be breaking down a particular bar or a particular song and let's look and see, you know, if we can break the bar down to something deeper than just the base level of what he's saying. So there's, he has a song called Let Me Be Great, for example. You know, he says, I know they're listening, but are they hearing it? You know, are you hearing what's behind the lyric? You know, you could hear him say something. He says something like, can you turn 1 million followers into $1 million? You know, you can take that concept and you could break that one line down to a whole 30-minute conversation. You know, there's a certain depth in the lyrics that needs to be commended, and it's something that a lot of artists have trouble with, saying something that is potentially beyond just the sentence that they're saying, you know. So that's a big shout out to Markee Steeles for putting together this level of an album, you know. Now the last 2 stars would be replay value and longevity, potential longevity. You know, this album just came out this week, but I've had it on repeat. I think the replay value in this album comes from the fact that each of the songs can stand on their own individually, but the way that the songs flow one into the next, it makes you want to just keep playing it. You play one song, it goes into the next song, and it's in a way that you can really get lost in the album without even knowing necessarily like, oh, what song am I on? You know, you might think it was just a transition mid-song because it's so smooth into the next track. But it's not a long album. It doesn't carry on too long, which also will allow you to play it back, you know. So, you know, for this to be my first 10-star review, Markee Steeles is looking real good, man. That's 9 out of 10 stars. Now the last star is potential longevity. You know, we're listening to an album for 1 week. You know, how do you gauge the potential longevity of an album like that? Now, for my own personal assessment, I think of longevity in terms of, is the stuff that he's saying going to be relevant in 10 years? Is it going to be relevant tomorrow? Is he already outdated with what he's talking about? I think that this album, the concept of time heals all wounds, is a concept that is timeless, you know, no pun intended. But I think that having an album that is based around the idea of giving yourself time is probably a really smart way to ensure that as you grow, you might actually grow with the album and understand things that you might not initially catch, you might not initially understand fully until you experience your own struggles or your own trauma and have to look at the wounds of your past experiences. You know, eventually those wounds turn to scars, and those scars kind of represent your lessons that you've learned through life, you know. So it's just a quick little breakdown, but because of some previous technical difficulties with our live stream interview, I did want to offer up my take on this album and just to do a quick review so that people who are checking out Hip Hop Tonight will understand that Markee Steele has not only created a dope body of work in the past, but this new album, Time Heals, is also a really good insight into his mind, his process. And I think this might be his best album yet. You know, it's pretty much free of other rap features, but I think in doing that, it allows him room to really explore some of the concepts that he's really trying to focus in on. And I think he does a fantastic job of it. So to wrap it all up, man, dope lyrics, dope flow, dope beats, great engineering, great mix, really quality rollout, dope music video to accompany the album, cohesive energy throughout the album, along with the concept of time heals being prevalent throughout the album. The depth to his lyrics, you can break bars down bar for bar. His replay value for me personally is up there with the way the songs flow one into the other. And the potential longevity of it, you know, only time will tell, but for right now, I could see this album being something you could reflect on throughout the years and as you grow. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Markee Steele. Markee Steele is somebody that I've known for years. I just want to shout him out. I appreciate you doing the live interview. And if you haven't checked out the album, please go check it out on all streaming platforms. Markee space Steele, Markee Steele. You can find him everywhere. This is Cortez Hero for Hip Hop Tonight. First ever 10-star review. And right now we got a 10 out of 10. Peace.